Alright guys, so in today's video we're going to be going over 5 things to avoid when fly fishing. These are a few things that I think you should never do, or at least really try to avoid when you're out in the water to help you catch more fish and bigger fish. So without further ado, let's get into it. Before we get started, my intent with this video is to make something that fly anglers can use for years to come. So if you're a more experienced fly fisherman, leave a comment on something you think anglers should avoid when fishing that will help them catch more and bigger fish. Then like a few comments you think are important. That way people can read through the comments and learn things even beyond what I go over in this video. Alright, let's start with the first thing you should avoid, and that's spending a ton of unnecessary money. Let's be honest, it doesn't look cool to spend a boatload of money on fly gear, especially if you're not even an experienced angler and don't know how to use it. You're better off going to Walmart, Bass Pro, Cabalas, or your local fly shop and getting some budget gear to fish with. Unless you're a super experienced angler, you won't be able to tell the difference between most of the gear anyways. There are plenty of great combos from most of the major fly rod manufacturers that all catch fish just like a $1,500 combo. Alright guys, so the first thing to avoid while fly fishing is spending a crap ton of unnecessary money. I think just about everybody, especially when you start out, you fall into this trap of wanting to spend a bunch of money and you think that spending money is going to help you catch fish. And that's just flat out not true. I've made a couple videos on this channel about how you don't really need to spend money to catch fish and kind of proving that by using, gear that's not very expensive. And in this video, I'm going to kind of reiterate that point by once again using gear that's not very expensive. This is like I think this rod goes for like $100. It's literally just a Walmart combo. So the goal for this video is just to catch a bunch of fish on this rod. So the whole time you're watching this video, you will realize that, I'm catching fish on a really cheap rod with a pretty cheap rig. I mean, I'm just throwing an indicator rig with a $100 combo, and I can promise you I'm gonna catch fish today. All right, guys, let's catch a fish. Quit messing around, you know what I mean? Been messing around this whole time, not being serious. Finally time to be serious and catch one. Oh, there's one. Aha! Looks like a brown trout, actually. Matter of fact, I almost guarantee that's a brown trout. Is it? Yeah, brown trout. Wow. See? Pretty expensive gear to catch brown trout. Trying to reel my line up a little bit here while watching this fish. He looks like he's almost ready. Whoa, 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 whoa. Come here, buddy. Really want to land this fish. Come on, buddy. I know, dude. I know, dude. I know. Come on. Come on, buddy. Oh, gosh. Yeah, there's a fish. It's a really nice brown trout. Probably 16-inch brown trout. That's a great first fish of the day. Ate a little hare's ear. Literally just a hare's ear I bought too. There's no custom. That fly's not custom or anything. It's just a store-bought hare's ear. Heck yeah, brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just figured I'd show off this fish because I don't know how many brown trout like this I'm gonna catch today. Probably not many. It's not a very brown trouty day, but first fish of the day. Chill, buddy. Like, look at the colors on that fish. And that is just an awesome little brown trout. He's not giant, but I'll take him. Gorgeous, gorgeous fish. So we'll just gotta get this guy released and keep on going. The second thing to avoid is fishing downstream and just approaching the water haphazardly in general. There's really no excuse to fish downstream in a creek. Trout sit looking up the current, so working down towards them just alerts them to your location, oftentimes before you ever even make a cast. It's not that you can't catch fish walking downstream, but you will catch more and bigger fish working upstream. There are some exceptions to this rule, but it's very rare. Also keep in mind that while trout fishing, your approach is everything. So be aware of your shadows, where the fish are likely to be sitting, what your backdrop is, and where your sediment that you're kicking up is going, because all of these things can become super important. All right guys, so with a hole like this, you just want to approach the hole from the back end. Like in this situation, don't like approach the hole, don't like come down off the side of the hill here. and fish like right into where you think the fish is going to be immediately, and instead like start at the back end of the hole and work up. That way you're not spooking any fish that you don't know about or something weird, because sometimes fish inexplicably will sit in the back ends of holes, and if you're coming up like at the top end and stuff, you can very quickly get into a situation where you're not catching fish that you should be catching. But also, it goes without saying that you should not fish downstream. Like, I mean, right now, if I turn around, I can see my sediment going downstream right now. So if I was walking downstream, not only would my sediment alert the fish to my whereabouts, but also the fish would be able to see me, because all the fish right now, like in this hole, are sitting looking up the creek. So every single fish is sitting looking up the stream right here. So if I was to come down from above, they would see me before I might even get a cast in. And sometimes fish spook with that, sometimes they don't, but it's just like, you might as well do your best to make sure that you're, oh, that was probably a bite. Do your best to make sure that you're not spooking fish on your approach before you even get to the hole. There's a fish. Little fish, but it's a fish. No way that's a brownie, is it? It is a brownie. A little itty bitty brown trout. Chill, buddy. Chill. We're friends. There we go. Cute little brown trout. Thanks, buddy. Whoa, 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 whoa. You're tangled on yourself, aren't you? There you go. Oops, sorry.
The third thing to avoid is not setting the hook downstream. This is a mistake that I still make to this day. In fact, you're watching a clip right now of a big brown trout I missed recently because of the direction of my hook set. If I had set the hook downstream, that fish would be in my net and I'd be showing off another 20+ inch wild brown trout. The reason setting the hook upstream is bad is because the trout are likely to be looking upstream and therefore are probably going to be eating your fly looking upstream, which means you're going to be pulling the fly out of the fish's mouth. This decreases the chance of the hook actually sticking, and even if it does, you're much more likely to lose the fish. If you set the hook downstream, you're pulling the fly into the fish's mouth, or at the very least at an angle, which increases the chances dramatically of a good hook set. If you absolutely cannot set the hook downstream, set the hook straight up into the air.
I got 2 fish. Doubles. See, if you set the hook downstream, sometimes you catch 2 fish. Or sometimes you can't set the hook downstream, and if you set the hook downstream, or you can't set it downstream, just setting straight up or over your head is the only other way you can really do it. But there we go, that's pretty cool. I haven't gotten a double up in a while, so I'm happy with that. 2 little rainbow trout. One of them's gone, this one's gone now too. I have a little hole in my net that some of those little fish can get out of, but it doesn't really matter for the big fish. All right guys, so this is an interesting spot because where I'm standing, I'm gonna have to let my indicator or this whole nymph rig kind of drift down and around this current, because if I step into the current, the fish are gonna be able to see me pretty easily. So in this situation, I'm gonna have to set up over my head and away, which I'll show here in a second if one eats. There we go. That one, he ate at the back end of that run, so that wasn't a perfect example, but still cool. I'm finally catching a bunch of fish here. Wasn't doing too well off rip today, although I caught that one nice brown, and now it's going crazy. Relax. Gosh, that's a pretty fish, man. Look how pretty that trout is. Thanks, buddy.
The fourth thing to avoid is netting a fish from behind. I don't hear this one talked about much, but with fly fishing, you're almost always using a net so that you can land the fish easily. But netting a fish takes a certain amount of skill itself. For example, you should always net a fish head first so that when they kick and thrash, they swim into the net and not out of it. Trout can't swim backwards, remember that. You should also never hold the net in the water prior to trying to net a fish. They will often see the net and panic, which makes coaxing them into the net that much more difficult.
All right guys, so the first thing that you want to remember when you're netting a fish is to always net them head first. Fish can't swim backwards, so at least if you net them head first and they spook, they'll swim into the net. Second thing you got to remember is don't keep the net in the water. Because if your net is in the water, there's a chance that fish might thrash around. If that fish thrashes around and you end up, I just saw a fish come back and eat that fly. Whee! It's a little bit deeper here. I need to lengthen my indicator a little bit, but don't keep your net in the water. If you keep your net in the water and the fish thrashes as it tries to go in and kicks and gets away from you, then there's a good chance that you're not gonna end up catching the fish. It'll get stuck on the fly will get stuck on the net or something like that. So you don't want to keep the net in the water. You want to hold the net like above the water, around the water, or just have it in a good spot that you can reach it pretty easily and grab it. And you want to scoop the fish in head first. Don't keep the fish in the water and try to get the fish or try to corral the fish into the net or something. That'll never work. Honestly, the big fish are probably gonna be over there. There we go. Ooh, that's a nicer fish. Not a giant, but I'll net that one at least. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Here. So you basically just want to get this fish in a position. Whoa, chill, chill. Okay, now he's running down the creek. He ain't even that big of a fish, I'll be honest with you folks. Anyways, this fish, the head first thing isn't gonna matter too much. I'm just gonna get downstream of them because you always want to be downstream when you're fighting a fish. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull him up, maybe. Try to get his head up, and once you get the head up, you can kind of just scoop the fish. That fish I could almost net from behind because he wasn't really gonna do much. But that's a decent little rainbow trout. I'm not gonna complain about that ever.
The fifth thing to avoid is playing the fish too long. I've gotten into several arguments with people in comment sections about this, but you should never fight a fish for very long unless it's huge. And even then, you have a moral obligation to get that fish to the net as fast as possible. I've seen people play small fish for several minutes for absolutely no reason, and that's usually just a lack of knowledge about your gear or blissful ignorance about the chance of the fish's survival. Bottom line is that if you want to catch and release, get the fish to the net as fast as possible and use the proper tippet that allows you to do so. One tip I heard or read somewhere is to get stuck on purpose where you can retrieve your fly, and then see how hard you can pull without breaking your line and or your rod. It will shock you how much pressure you can put without anything breaking, but more importantly, it gives you an idea of how hard you can theoretically pull on a big fish without having any issues.
All right, so it looks like this little bridge structure here is finally falling in, or falling over, or whatever you want to call it, broken down. It's just a concrete bridge. It's been here forever, so I can't say that I'm shocked by it. And if you have something that you think that people should avoid, leave it in the comments below. That way other people can figure out more things to avoid while fly fishing. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.